Welcome to the Aligned and Amplified podcast, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, and business leaders to explore what's actually working in business today. Each episode pulls back the curtain on the strategies, lessons, challenges, and breakthroughs that shape successful businesses, helping you gain insights you can apply to your own journey. I'm your host, Jaime Ellithorpe, founder of 540 Strategies. Today, I'm joined by Yeshwant Muthusamy, and I'm so excited to dive into his story, what he's building, and the lessons he's learned along the way. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Absolutely. Well, let's get started. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your business, and who you help.
Sure. My name is Yeshwant Muthusamy. I am an AI technologist by day and a gourmet chocolatier by night, which is to say I have two businesses. At my AI practice, which is called Yeshvik Solutions, which is what you see, the logo that you see behind me. And that is my AI training, consulting, coaching, and IP advisory practice. And as part of that, I have basically four pillars. I help my clients with their custom AI solutions. I serve as an AI coach for people who need a bit more hand-holding. I also do a lot of training and workshops, mainly for non-technical business professionals. I find that target demographic is the largest. People who are good at what they do, but they don't quite know where or how to start incorporating AI into their business and personal lives. And last but not least, I also have an IP advisory, IP as an intellectual property. I am frequently called upon to do things like patent reviews, infringement analysis, infringement avoidance analysis, and have also served as as, as an expert witness and a fact witness in some high-profile IP lawsuits. So that's my AI practice. My gourmet chocolate truffle business is something a bit more recent. I I love chocolate, especially dark chocolate, and I love to cook. So one day I decided why not. So that's how the Blissful Gourmet came into being. And we've been in business since December of 2023, and we deal with only fine dark Belgian chocolate and in eclectic flavor combinations you will not find elsewhere. We are fully online. We have an online store, theblissfulgourmet.com, and I almost all of my chocolate truffles have a small amount of premium liqueur in them. It's infused with liqueur, not filled. So you're going to have to eat a lot of them to get drunk. But that's me. That's me and my two businesses. I'll stop there.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing two things that I love, so I'm not sure which direction take your conversation, but I think something that I would love for you to share with the audience that I know about you is that you've been doing AI for a lot longer than most of us realize it's even been around. A lot of people think it's some kind of new technology, and you enlightened me that it's not. So, can you take us back to how long you've been into that industry and how you got started?
Sure. I mean, I took classes on AI in my grad school, and actually in the first year of my grad school is when I took my first course in artificial intelligence. But even before that, in my final year of my bachelor's degree, back in India, I was fascinated by this, what was then called as kind of fifth generation computers. And I actually wrote an article about fifth generation computers in the school magazine, which, as it turned out, won the first prize. And so that my affliction with AI started back in the mid 80s, so to speak. And so it was just natural for me to gravitate towards taking my AI course in my first year of grad school. And I trained my first artificial neural network in the fall of 1989. And in those days, if you were doing any kind of work with AI or artificial neural networks, you wrote your own code. We did not have the advantage of going to a website. There were no websites then, and actually downloading a black box Python package, not knowing what is in the package, but downloading it and executing and say, I'm doing AI. If something didn't work, you had to go and walk through the code and actually fix it. I mean, so that's where I got my start in AI. But the actual field of AI actually started in the 1950s, and I'm not that old. I mean, I am old, but not that old. The first paper on AI was actually written by the famous British mathematician Alan Turing, and his paper, which actually came out in 1950, was titled "Can Machines Think?" And that paper actually sparked off the field of AI. And so to me, it has been really, really fascinating to see the field progress through the years. And what has happened with the advent of chatbots like ChatGPT, which came out in 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 November of 2022, it had the advantage or the effect of shining the spotlight on the entire field of AI, even though AI has actually been an active field of research for many years before that. But the advent of ChatGPT caused people to sit up and take notice. And so that's how everybody now has been talking about AI, but the field itself has been around for a very long time.
Yes. Well, obviously you've been involved for a very long time, and it's mind-blowing to me because, like most people, I thought it was a newer technology. But if you could look back over your career and share with us one or two milestones in your journey, what would those be?
I was fascinated with this whole area of speech recognition, and so that was what I mean. That's how I met my thesis advisor in April of 1988 when he came to our school to give a talk. We used to have these Friday afternoon talks by visiting guest lecturers and professors. Long story short, little did I know when I went to his talk, which was on speech recognition, that he was actually, that talk was part of his interview to join the faculty at my grad school. And so when I heard that, I sent him an email saying that I'm looking for a PhD thesis topic. I'd like to join your group. And he was actually excited because even before he joined my school, he was getting a grad student for free, so to speak. so and that's how I started my journey in speech recognition. But then I'm also interested in multiple languages. I grew up speaking four languages. And so for me, I wanted to tackle the problem of automatic language identification, which is the problem I was trying to solve is, can you identify the languages being spoken using speech, but without regard to the content of the speech? So that what that meant was you were trying to look for language specific speech patterns like intonation and changes in the tone and the pitch and the frequency and the different ways in which sounds of the language were kind of joined together. Not all combinations of sounds are valid in all languages. So for example, a real quick example, at the letter S followed by the letter R, which is sra, that is not a valid sound combination in a language like English, but it is a perfectly valid combination in many Indian languages, like Sri. Sri is the Hindi equivalent of Mr. So SR, the sir sound followed by a r sound, is a valid combination in many languages. So it was things like that that I had to focus on, and I used artificial neural networks, which were a new thing at that time, to train these different language classifiers. So for me, that was how I got started into this whole area of, of, of speech recognition and language identification and using neural networks. So now when I look back, all that seems so quaint, but at the time, it was quite advanced. It was advanced technology which we were working with. So.
Yes, for sure. Well, your work sounds really interesting and amazing for sure. Let's shift to the business
Sure.
side of it just a little bit and give our audience an insight on your journey in making this a business. What do you feel like you've really figured out when it comes to growing your business and serving your clients?
I see in the area of artificial intelligence, I still see, and this was contrary to my earlier belief when AI took the world by storm, so to speak, with the advent of ChatGPT and those other large language models. I was under the impression that I had a window of maybe 3 to 6 months before everybody will be up to speed on how to use AI. And so if I was going to teach, I had this small window to teach these non-technical business professionals. But the fact of the matter is I couldn't have been more wrong, because I still see 2 years later a lot of gaps in fundamental understanding of how AI works and how AI should be used and how it should not be used. And that's where I think I find that I'm able to help these non-technical business professionals who want to use AI, but there is a combination of misinformation and just plain fear. They don't know where to start, they don't know how to start, and they are very concerned because they see all these negative news items in the news media about the things going wrong when people start using AI. So a lot of the what I teach in my workshops is to basically cut through the hype and try and say it like it is in terms of what AI really is and how you can get the most value out of AI without compromising the safety and security of your data, because data at the end of the day is the fuel for AI. Without data, AI is pretty much useless. So.
Yep. Well, you've given us an insight on where the gaps are with people's understanding of AI. But looking back over the last 12 months, what has surprised you the most about growing your own business?
I think what has been an eye opener for me is that you need to focus on the value that you provide to your clients. Not every client needs the latest and greatest technology. Just to give you a quick example, I had a client in the automotive software services business approach us, and they were trying to solve a very simple it's a very simple problem. Their software is used by a lot of these tire service stations. And those guys, if you take your car into one of these tire service stations, most of them typically have a guy who comes and takes a measurement of the tire depths for each of the four tires. And each tire has got four tread depths. So that's 4 times 4. That's 16 tread depth measurements that a guy has to do manually using his small tire gauge. That's time consuming. It's error prone. It's kind of labor intensive, and it also means from the perspective of the service center, you don't see as many vehicles, and because you're spending so much time just taking the tire measurements. long story short, we developed a custom machine learning solution for them where they just take a picture of the tire, and within about 250 milliseconds, the trained machine learning model is able to predict with a high accuracy what the four tread depths are. And so he spends in a matter of about 2 or 3 minutes, he's gotten all 16 tire depth measurements. And he still has the ability to override it if he's not if he's not sure whether the machine learning model got that right. And he can just go and do a quick manual check. But our results showed at these lower depths, which is 4 by 32 of an inch or lower, what we call as safety critical depths, where if you get it wrong, there is a clear possibility of the driver getting into an accident because the tires are close to being bald. So at those depths, we recorded an accuracy of close to 93%, which is a pretty high, pretty high rate of accuracy. And so the point there is, this client didn't need ChatGPT. He didn't need the newest Claude model. He didn't need anything fancy, which people keep bragging about these days as far as what AI is concerned. He needed a machine learning model using machine learning algorithms, which have been in existence for about 20 years. So the point of this story is that it is not always about the technology. It's about what brings value to the end client. And I'm happy to report that they are actually using that machine learning model in their software now. So
yes, I actually grew up in the repair business, and my dad had a tire store. So I can vouch for you the value that you are definitely bringing that client and also making their life and their job a lot easier.
right.
Speaking of that, what part of your business feels easiest or most natural to you today?
Oh boy. I mean, this is going to sound strange, but I love reviewing patents. There is something about my IP advisory work that I naturally gravitate towards. Because for me to be able to read a patent and then look at the claims and then find holes in the claims, or if I'm trying to advise a client to avoid infringement with an existing patent, after a while, after some practice, you become very good at seeing, okay, this patent, if you do this, this, and this, but not this, you will be able to steer clear of this patent. Or if you flip the coin on its head, to be able to look at a product and see how it infringes or does not infringe on a patent, I find that a lot of fun. Most people, when I say that, they look at me like I'm from Mars, but I mean, I find that actually quite interesting work. So.
Well, wonderful. We're glad that you're definitely into the details. So when you think about other parts of your business, what seems to be requiring most of your attention, energy, or focus right now?
Yeah, I am a technologist. I am clearly not a marketing genius. So my focus this year has been on trying to increase the visibility of my AI practice, and for that matter, my gourmet chocolate truffle business as well, because I've realized that rather than spending money on digital marketing, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but it only takes you that far. My focus has been to get in front of people, to kind of build relationships and go to these in-person networking meetings to try and tell people what I'm all about and what is the value that I can bring to their business. Because at the end of the day, people are willing to hire you to help them, not so much because you're able to spout the names of the the latest AI technologies, but more because they trust you as someone who can help them to solve their problems. So I'm a big fan of in-person networking because I feel that when you build relationships, when you talk to people and you try to understand what their pain points are, the chances of you landing their business is much higher.
So I want to ask you this question because of the industry that you're in with AI. I think a lot of people still fear it. It's awkward, it's unknown. What feels the most uncertain when you look towards the future in business?
I think that we are still in the wild west portion of AI. There is a lot of hype. What concerns me is the exceeding amount of hype that I see on a daily basis. But having said that, I think we are going to reach a stage where the men are going to be separated from the boys. You're going to have a few companies whose fundamental thesis as far as AI is concerned is sound, and those are the ones that are going to survive. But companies which are skating on hype are the ones which are going to fall by the wayside. And so I am frequently looking to where we can reach a kind of a stable equilibrium, so to speak, where all of the dust settles down. Uh, I'm also concerned about this circular economy. I'm sure you've heard the term, the circular AI economy, where the people who are funding the companies are the ones buying their own own product and so on and so forth. That circular economy is not sustainable. At some point it's going to get deflated and it's going to fail. And the companies that are doing things right now are the ones who are going to survive that. So that is that I mean so that kind of a reckoning, I think, is on the horizon. And I focus on, I tell my clients and my students the way to approach AI is to treat it as a set of very powerful labor compression tools. Don't attribute to AI anything beyond it being a tool which will help you to do your things, to do your work faster. It could also help spark new ideas in you, which is great. Things that might have taken you 2 or 3 months to figure out, you might be able to get that inspiration much faster if you use AI, and more power to you. But what you should not be doing is abdicating your inherent ingenuity and abdicating a sense of accountability and responsibility to AI. You still need to be in control of everything that you do with AI. Use AI to help you work faster by all means. I use AI every day. I can't envision a single work day without me taking the help of AI to get things done much faster. But I always make sure that whatever output I present to my clients is in my voice, and I'm able to stand behind everything I say. And so, which is why the phrase which I like the best is humans at the helm, not just in the loop.
I love that. I love that. We just gave our audience, I feel, some really solid insight and advice on AI and how to use it and where it's headed. So I'm curious to know, when you think about bridging the gap in your own business, because earlier you mentioned getting some more visibility, where do you want to be today, or where do you want to be in the future versus where you feel like you're today? And what do you need to do to maybe bridge that gap?
I think it would be nice to get a full pipeline of clients. At least one client for each of the four pillars would be great. I mean, it's a lot easier for me to set up a training or a workshop and have students come attend the workshop. So that pillar is the easiest. In fact, if I could insert a shameless plug, my next Claude Claude Cowork in-person workshop is on August 28th. And that is a half a day workshop where I teach people how to take advantage of agentic AI without writing a single line of code. And that's what Claude Cowork lets you do. You're able to set up tasks which will execute on your behalf even while you're sleeping. I literally wake up every morning to 4 reports that Claude Cowork has done while I'm sleeping. And so, but I actually teach people how to do that without compromising the privacy and security of their data. And so I think that's what the world is moving to. I'm sure you have heard about AI agents or agentic AI. They are all the rage, but there is a right way to use them, and there is a wrong way to use them, especially if you're a non-technical business professional. You want to be able to take advantage of the power of agentic AI without losing the privacy of your data. And that's what I teach in that workshop. So
I'm glad that you brought up the AI agents because it actually leads in perfectly to the next question I was going to ask you, especially in your field, is if you feel like there are any, what are the misconceptions that people have about what you do and how you help clients?
misconceptions. Well, for one thing, when people hear that I'm an AI consultant or I have an AI practice, they think I am busy 24/7. I wish that were true, but it's not. I mean, it's like any other consulting practice. You have to go and cultivate clients, and you have to close the deal. And from that perspective, it is no different. But here, I think the other misconception that I have to battle is that people have either a very inflated view of what AI can do for them, or they have a very, very negative view of what AI is going to do to their business. I'm trying to bring both sides to the center where there's a happy medium. I mean, so AI is not out to take your job. But the guy or gal who knows how to use AI effectively is most certainly going to take your job. So I see the biggest need of the hour as AI education. And I don't mean education from a book necessarily, but a good understanding of what are the pitfalls of using AI. I mean, when I first, I mean, I give a lot of talks on AI, and one of my favorite analogies I like to use is using AI for someone who hasn't ever used it before is like handing a chainsaw to a 12-year-old. If you teach that 12-year-old how to use the chainsaw, there is a good chance he's going to do a fantastic job of trimming all of your backyard hedges while you're enjoying a nice cold glass of iced tea. But if you don't, there is a good chance he's going to hurt himself and hurt the people around him because he doesn't know how to use a tool. It's the same thing with AI. I see a lot of businesses using AI willy-nilly, and just because they have their employees access ChatGPT, I've actually had guys say, "Oh, I'm using AI all the time." What they don't realize is every time one of your employees is using AI without any kind of AI governance, you're leaking your business data because you're not paying attention to what that employee is typing into the large language model chatbot. It might be harmless, or they might be actually uploading docs which you don't want them to upload. So regardless of the size of your business data leakage to AI is a big problem. And so I try to advise my clients that just using ChatGPT is not doing AI. You need to have some kind of a framework around it where you're making sure your employees know how to do it and they are not inadvertently leaking your business data.
Yeah, that is some great advice and probably some things that our audience hasn't really even thought about. Speaking of advice, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice throughout your career since you started this journey, what would it be?
Uh, take a take a couple of courses on marketing. No, I have right from the time I began to work after my graduate school, I have found that I'm very comfortable walking into a room of strangers and leaving with at least anywhere between 5 to 10 business cards. So that hasn't been a problem for me. But I think I would have probably, if I was starting out and I know now, if I had known then what I know now, I would have probably spent a lot more money on marketing and other aspects like that. I mean, it's still not too late to do that, but I'm learning on the fly as I go along. So
Absolutely. Well, I couldn't agree more about the need for marketing, right? That's how I got into this business myself. Yeshwant, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you so much for sharing your insights with
sure.
us. In closing, tell us what's next for you, where can people connect with you, and where can they learn more about what you're building? I know you mentioned your workshop, so tell us more.
Sure. I mean, I am on LinkedIn a lot. I mean, so you can you can search for my name. I mean, as you can see, the name just rolls right off the tongue. So you can search for my name on LinkedIn, and please do connect with me. You can contact me directly. That my email, which is my first name, Yeshwant, at yeshvik.com. So that's the name of my firm. And so it's Yeshwant at yeshvik.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I post about my workshops, and if you want to know more about what I do, you can go to my website, which is yeshvik.com. I try to keep it short and simple so that people are able to actually say the name. And it has my entire portfolio of services. I love talking about AI, as you guys probably gathered. I can talk all day about AI technology, but I'm also out to help people be more educated with AI. And in that context, I've launched a new online AI training service called Single Shot AI. 1 hour, one topic, one skill you'll use every day. So for people who don't have the time to show up for one of my in-person 4 day or 8 hour workshops, you can book 1 hour with me and it's online and you get 1 hour of my undivided time. And so and you will leave with a real skill which you have learned in that one hour. I have I have I have 5 topics, but I'm constantly adding more topics, and so that's what I call it single shot AI. 1 hour, one topic, one taste of what's to come. So
I love it. Thank you so much again for coming on the podcast and
sure.
sharing your insight with us.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. I appreciate it, Jamie.